really doing? No. Ding 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 ding.
Fubble time.
I am Teresa Tomey.
And I'm Patrick Ziegler.
And we are.
Hold on. Fubble Entertainment.
And this is.
Fubble time.
Oh my gosh. Just before we got on, I was doing vocal warm-ups for my beautiful thing. And then Patrick.
Do it.
No, me. But then Patrick was doing this just before we came on.
What was I doing?
Like you had little wheezy laughs underneath.
Oh my gosh. Hi, everybody. Hello.
Hi. I am so excited. And I think it's appropriate that we're laughing because we were laughing before we got on because we were laughing with our friend. Oh my gosh, this is driving me crazy. Okay, we were laughing with our friend, Mary Jane Pories. So let me tell you a little bit about her so we can get her to join us.
And we posted, who's here? Hello.
Who's here? Come on in. Tell us you're here. We love to see
people
you.
that post. I love it. We love hearing from people because a lot of times people do it at the very end, but say who's here now. So.
If you want. Mary Jane has taught art in high school and design thinking using applied improvisation for Kendall College of Art and Design. She was actually an art director and graphic designer for a magazine before she even earned her master's in teaching. She has studied painting at Bennington College, Savannah College of Art and Design, and continues learning by regularly attending workshops, often with her father, her favorite painting partner, which I love. Her work is in private collections, appeared in the first edition of Salann Magazine, and has been exhibited locally in juried shows at the Franciscan Center, Celebration of the Arts, Bliss Vinegar, Grand Valley Artists, All Artworks, ArtPrize, the Grand Haven Art Walk, and LowellArts. She's a remarkably talented woman who will also be a plein air artist for the Festival of the Arts 2021. Fantastic. Yay. I know. You will be able to find her work online at maryjanepories.net, and Patrick will certainly post those at some point during our conversation, and allartworks.net. This is just, we've been talking about April is for artists. And so knowing that Mary Jane has been an artist in this capacity for so long, we thought she would be such an interesting guest. She is, like I said, a quadruple threat because I didn't know, would you say quintuple, sextuple, sept? I don't know. Anyway, she's a ridiculously creative and talented woman. So let's have me shut up and have her join us.
Da-da-da-da-da. Hi.
Hello. Hi, you
Yay,
guys.
Mary Jane.
And
Welcome.
shut up, Teresa. Thank you. Thank you for welcoming me.
And we got people tuning in. Kevin, who was our guest last week, is here. New York is in the house. And we have our regular Jeannie shows up. She's here. And our first artist that show for the month was Ann Latinovich, who's here, and she says, yay, Fubble time.
Yeah, I love it that she said, yay, Fubble time.
And a wonderful woman named Rhonda is here. Rhonda here. Can't wait to hear conversation with MJP.
My Jane Pories. That's great. We always start, we usually have this planned out, but we didn't. Do you want to ask the first question, Patrick?
Sure. I got your name up there.
There are going to be questions?
Yes.
Okay.
There are questions.
I'm ready.
Are you out? Are you out?
Ready. Yeah.
We were talking about, we didn't get Mary Jane's rider, so we didn't separate her M&Ms before.
I separated my own M&Ms, but...
And she washed her hair.
There were only two, so it went fast.
She had to wash her hair in Perrier instead of Avion because we didn't get her Avion. So that's her website, maryjanepories.net. And Mary Jane, we do ask this quite often is because you do so many different things. You do improv. You're such a great improviser. And you have a company that is all around doing that in corporations. But when did you first find out that you had this creative bug. We always say theater bug, but for these people that do art and do improv, and you're a writer, can you put this back to your first time tapping into this?
Into the visual art? Well, yeah, because it was, I mean, growing up, this was just what we did. You know, my father, when he wanted to spend time together, he would say, you know, grab a brush or grab a chisel or grab, you know, anything, a pen, piece of paper, and work. So that is how we spent a lot of time together. And my sisters are all, they don't do visual art really anymore, but they were all really good artists. My father was an art major in college and then decided that that'd be tough to raise a family on, so he became a surgeon. But he
but he does artwork later in life, right?
No, he has continued to paint and draw. He's put out 2 books of cartoons, but I've never seen him when he isn't drawing, you know, at the dinner table, when you're talking. I mean, I'd like to think he's listening to, but he's always drawing. And so, and, you know, it was just try it, right? So
it was in your family since you were young. So,
yeah.
But David Lincoln says, "Hey, Mary Jane."
Hey, David Lincoln. Hi.
And Rebecca Durrell is here too. She posted her.
Mary Jane, fun to hear her story. Yay. So, but then I want to stay on your artwork, obviously, but because truthfully, I didn't really, when I first met you, know you as an artist in that modality, if you will. I knew you as a writer and an improviser. Yeah. So it feels like you've been a little more putting this forward in the last few years. Am I correct about that?
Well, yeah, you know, social media helps, right? Because it's so visual and people like color and images. I mean, we are always looking at images, right? Constantly. So that's what grabs people. You can have a beautiful poem and write it out, but people may not always see it, but they look at color and shape and line and everything. And but yeah, I mean, I was always doing it, very into it in high school. My mother really wanted me to be an artist, and I was just always a little intimidated. I mean, you know, you see so much beautiful work out there, and it's, well, like all art, you know, it's very personal. There's something about the visual art that feels even closer emotionally. So yeah, there's a trepidation about putting it out there. But yeah, I mean, Facebook, Instagram, it's like, well, put this out there. And then people like, and then, you know, that's addictive. Put something else. I like that one too. And then if they don't like it, fortunately, most people don't. They just ignore it. So
put your cat with it.
I want to your cat with it. Right. I want to.
Wait a second. Julie Rolfson Kimber says, "Love this perspective. Voyeur over here." Nice. I
want to unpack that a little bit more. It's not on our question.
Oh, unpack. Woo.
There's a
mic drop. She used it.
It was so intriguing what you just said.
Yes.
You just said about that you didn't use the word vulnerable. Now I'm forgetting the word you used, but that putting your visual artwork feels more vulnerable is the word I'm using.
Exposed. It feels more exposed. Yeah, it does.
Than writing? Is it because of the kind of writing that you do? Like what
then
about
improv?
Well, I think artwork does if you're really immersing yourself, right, in a character, in a scene, or on the page, or in a painting. But there's something about, I think I feel so nervous when I pick up the brush or the palette knife or whatever, and you know, and because it's so tactile, maybe. But I mean, I do feel exposed in the writing, although there you have a story and then you get in your editing mode and it can be a little bit easier to put it further. But yeah, there's something about the painting that is it just, I don't know how to say it. It's just, yeah, vulnerable, I think is a good word. And then we all have the same issues with art, right? I mean, part of what I think frustrated me early on about art is I did this diptych that I was pretty happy with. And I was a member of Grand Valley Artists long ago, early in the century. And it got in the show and it won first prize.
Oh,
and I was
wow.
like, oh my God, I must be an amazing artist, right? So then I entered them in another show. Not only, I didn't win anything, I didn't even get in. Like, they rejected it. And that can be really confusing. And I think something I have to keep learning, reminding myself, is that you have to believe in it. And you have to put out there what you think is saying what it is you want to in the best way you can. And it's not going to please everybody. And
no, you really
please anybody but you.
You really have to do what's inside of you rather than paint. Well, I think they're gonna like this,
right?
So
right.
I'm gonna do a duck.
Right.
You know what I mean,
right?
And sometimes it doesn't resonate with people, but it's what is original and uniquely you.
And I do want to talk about your teaching art, and I think this is a perfect time to share what Rebecca just wrote. Years ago, I told Mary Jane I was stifled by an art teacher who gave me a bad grade on a drawing. Her advice to me was to take that idea and work through that bad grade. I will never forget that very wise and thoughtful advice.
Oh, thank you. Nice. That's nice to hear.
So what has it been like? I mean, I am going to jump back a second because I did jump forward a little bit. What inspired you then to go into teaching art, and what was that process like? And I mean, how long were you a teacher?
I taught art in high school for 6 years. So I started out teaching, literature, creative writing, and that kind of thing. And I did that also about 6 years. And then Beth Nicole, a really wonderful art teacher, left. There was an opening, so I applied for it right in the same school. And I went to high school at Shaker Heights High School, and there were 4 full years of art in high school. Unbelievable. 4 full years. And so one of my goals was to take a 1-semester program, which was basically art history and dabble a little bit, and here's a pencil. Again, going back to Beth Nicole, she had all these wonderful things going on with, batik and everything, but there just wasn't enough time. So a push to get additional classes going, and, drawing and painting and graphic design and ceramics and art history. So ended up with 3 full years of art by the end of 6 years. But what I actually loved teaching art so much, because the kids would just completely lose themselves in it. And I would too, which could be a problem sometimes. And it was great. Like, occasionally somebody would be really frustrated, throw something out, and I would pull it out of the garbage and say, so what else? What can we do with this? And what can we rescue? Is there anything here? I think the conversation that sticks with me the most is early when I was teaching, kids would come up to me and say, is this finished? Is it good? And I thought, I'm doing a terrible job if they're having to ask me if it's finished or if it's good. And so my goal was for them to be able to answer that, because they're going to leave and there isn't a teacher around, right? And we know that for whether it's whatever kind of art you're doing, you have to know. So I would have them come up when they believed it was finished, and we'd talk about it, and we'd talk through what grade you think you get, what do you like about it, what don't you, and so that they could, you know, put it aside when they said, yes, I've done what I can do on this. I've said what I want to say.
That's wonderful. That's really wonderful, because it's, you know, what Becky shared there. I think you know that I facilitated The Artist's Way, the book, The Artist's Way.
Yes.
And in that book, it's like, you know, you really look at those creative monsters that said terrible things to you when you were young or starting out as a, you know, early artist, and that can just stick with you and can be so paralyzing in your creativity. So I like that you're saying to somebody, you decide when it's done. You know, does it feel done to you? And that is so expansive, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and here's how what we're looking for, right? Here, I mean, there are rules, if you want to call it, to a piece of art, right? You know, is all the elements and principles of design. We can look for that, but you know, ultimately, I think if a piece moves you, right, that's really hard to do. Whether it's a poem or a monologue or visual piece of art, if you feel something, I think that is a huge way of identifying is this piece successful.
Well, should we show a few of your pieces? Can we do that? Okay. So the first one is, I'm going to just grab the first one that's uploaded is Candace. It's called Candace. Is that right?
Yeah, that's my niece.
Oh.
So we were sitting outside up in Cape Cod. We go there as a family every summer. And, you know, my dad's out there painting and I'm painting, and Candace had paints, and Chris and Lou, and we were all painting around this big picnic table. And I had done one poor sketch painting after another. That's what tends to happen. You know, they were tight and awkward. And I saw Candace sitting across from me, and the light was hitting her just right. And I loved the webbing in the chair. And I was just like, oh, I don't know. And then to me, that really worked. It's loose. It captures her pensiveness, and I love the color and the mood of it. So, but it was just a reminder, and that's, you know, the pieces I sent you are the ones that, you know, sometimes when I'm most ready to just say, okay, I can't do it, is when I'm loose enough to then just go with it. Let the paint be the paint, right? And just play.
Nice. What were you going to say, Teresa?
I was just going to say, how much time do you paint during the week? Like, or in a month, or, I mean, because you are so creative. So how much time do you?
It varies. I try to have 4 creative days a week and then 1 admin day.
Rebecca Donald says, that looks like how I feel. I love that. Sorry, I interrupted you.
So when I paint, I need at least 3 hours. It's nice if I can, like the other day when I was getting some stuff ready for that Lowell show, I thought, well, I'll go in. I started painting around 9, and I thought I'll paint probably till noon, and that'll be good. And the analogy that came to me later, since I finally finished at 11 that night and forget to eat and all that kind of stuff, the analogy that came to me is like, oh, you know, you hear about a party and you think you're going to just stop in and say hey to a few people, right? And have a drink and then take off and go do what you need to do. And then, you know, hours later, you're sitting in the corner with somebody, you know, used to know from junior high, and you're having the deepest conversation ever. That's kind of what painting is like. You
Get
start
lost.
and you do.
Oh my gosh, we've got
So-
just people are chiming in. Kathy Pories, is that a little relation maybe? Love that painting.
If
then
she's
she
not,
was
that would be
there.
such a coincidence.
Right? And then Kevin, who was on last week, says that reminded me of Hank Vergona's wonderful work. There's a recent documentary about him. Do you know who that is?
Okay, I don't, but I'll have to look it up.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we got a long message here from David Lincoln. You read that one, Teresa.
There are two sides of every painting Mary Jane has done. One side is where she takes a plain white paper canvas and covers it with creative explosion of colors. The other side is the side that goes against the wall. Obviously, the content that didn't enter your painting, they were looking at the wrong side. Oh, David Lincoln has a story. Put up another painting, and then maybe Mary Jane.
Thank you, David.
I love that piece.
The
Is that
night.
website?
This night.
Yeah.
Talk
So
about
this painting I started at least 2 years ago. I was at a workshop. My dad and I try to do one workshop a year together, usually like
Amazing.
a 3-4 day workshop.
And how old
somewhere.
is your dad now?
He just turned 91.
Okay.
But yeah, like over a year ago, we were in Boone taking one. Anyway, I started this one and I thought, that's pretty good. And then the more I looked at it, I thought, no, it's not that good. And so then I painted over it, entirely different scene, and still thought maybe I had it. No. So then I turned it upside down. So this is over 2-3 years that I kept going in, painting over it and playing with it. And then suddenly it worked. I don't know why. I don't know why that, it did, but yeah. So
Is it a specific place or is it kind of just in your mind?
No, that was, it started as a specific place, it started as a city painting, but see, like behind me, I have all these orphan paintings that they're
Orphan painting.
not quite finished. They're, we haven't really, we're not totally in a relationship yet,
They haven't been adopted yet.
I have to come a ways, closer to them. They have to come closer to me. We're just not there yet.
Wow.
But if I hang them up, then they'll bug me enough after a while, and then I can go back in and figure it out. But yeah,
So how many
sometimes
paintings do
painting.
you have? How many do you have going at any given time?
Oh,
I mean, there's 5 behind you
yeah, like
that I can see.
yeah, there was maybe 7, something like that.
And then do you have a specific place that you work in? Do you have a studio? Do you have, is it all in your living room?
Well, this is the issue with Rhonda, is that I only have 2 of our 3 rooms upstairs. So I'm working with what I have. But it's actually a tiny little.
Painting purgatory. That's what Rhonda just added. Painting purgatory.
Oh, she did? Did she?
Yeah.
I was. My cousin is here, Barb Henderson. Like that painting.
Hi,
Hey.
Barb.
And Molly Kelly
Molly
showed up too and said, gave a love it on your painting.
Very nice. Thank you. No, it's just a little, it's maybe, I don't know, 10 by 10, 11 by 11. It's a little spot, but at least it is a dedicated spot, which is really nice. And maybe I don't know if things will fall apart here.
Oh no.
This is like part of the
Oh,
roof.
wow.
And then
Oh, wow.
the
cool.
nice part is all these windows that I have. And,
Nice.
so
Space is so important.
Fred Stella's asking you, will you have an entry for Festival ArtPrize? You are a festival, right?
I just put something on. I just entered ArtPrize, so I just signed up and wrote something that scares me to death about, like, really I told
Wow.
Rhonda about it, and she was just did this. Because it's this piece that I talked about. I was just at this writing residency, and it's a piece about really the gist of it is who gets to decide who's crazy and who's brilliant, right? So
There's a fine line, right?
who owns that narrative?
Mm.
And after my mother died and going through her stuff, you know, I'm learning this changing there. I'm learning things about her I didn't know. So it's called More Than I Can See. And it will be, you know, in my head anyway, some video recorded pieces, some live performance, some paintings, some writing, poems, transcripts from
all of you.
Transcripts from you know, probate court and all kinds of things. So yeah, so I'm excited to try that.
Sounds a little familiar to familiar to what Teresa did with going unpacking.
Yes, with warm cheese.
Right. Relationship.
Fred Stella's Fred Stella. Calvinists don't have purgatory, only hell.
Right, it's either or.
And then Kevin says, an artist needs lots of sunlight. Yes, yes. So I love this. We're hardly asking any of our questions because this is what happens. Do you want to ask another question, Teresa?
No, I want to see one more piece of artwork and then I'll ask a question.
Okay, that's what I was going to say.
Because I'm still.
Oh, sorry. And that says last apartment installation?
Yeah, so this was a piece from ArtPrize 2018. And so I, as guardian and conservator, had to move my mother from her apartment in Laguna Beach, gorgeous place, absolutely gorgeous place, to an early dementia unit here in Michigan. And the winter I did that, well, I did it in May, but that winter, that was 2013, was like our coldest ever. I don't know if you remember, it was just awful. Anyway, so that was hard on me, hard on her. And so this is a 7 by 7 foot square image of a cookie cutter apartment. So that was printed on cloth and hanging, and then these 3 paintings hang in front of it. So the bedroom, where the bedroom would be, and the kitchen, and then this little nook, just to give a sense of all the vitality that was in there. But what do we see on the outside, and how do we treat people? We tend to reduce them, right, to just their things or their age. And there's so much wealth and beauty and passion, and especially in our elderly community, that we miss because we're storing them somewhere. Right?
Yeah. It's that's a whole nother topic, but that Teresa and I both dealt with. That's a powerful piece to show that box of the living situation and those beautiful 3 pieces the way you have them. That's really powerful. Knowing the story, yeah. And then you have one more, which is Geneva.
That's when you're.
You're so bad. Geneva in the Rain. I love this piece.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, allartworks.net sold this one for me. So yeah, we were in Geneva in the rain, and I took some photos, and I just love the reflections of all these lights on the pavement. And again, this was one of those pieces that I painted, and I just could not get it. And then I'm like, okay, whatever. And I just played, and then suddenly it's letting the paint do what it does, right? I mean, whatever medium you're working with, to respect that, honor it, let it lead you as
I
much
like
as
what you're
you
saying
need
about
it.
because Mark, somebody introduced us to this reality show called Glow Up, and it's about makeup artists.
Mm.
And there's this woman that like got into in this other woman, this artist's face, and she's like, just be messy, just get in there, and sometimes you have to do that, right? And it sounds like that's what you needed to do in that piece.
Yep. And actually, you bringing that up, that's kind of a pet peeve of mine. I think we need a lot more messy places. We need places for kids to be messy and adults to be messy, because otherwise you're so worried about, I'm going to spill or something. Just start out with it a mess.
Yeah.
I will say yes, 100%, but I hope Fred Stella has tuned out. He's going to be like, Mary Jane said.
There's a difference of
when you can dedicate a spot.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think we get one of the spaces in Grand Rapids and call it messy, and just open it up to people just getting messy in there.
So Mary Jane, you do have so many interests.
That was me whining.
That's my dog.
Oh.
Stop it, big. Sorry. So sorry.
But it felt my pain.
It's good. That's hilarious.
I could have said it with my stomach.
Which sounds very sad. Does one feed you more than another? Is there one that do you wake up and go, oh man, today is not going to be a writing day. This is going to be a painting day. I mean, is there a mood that you feel attracted to when you want to?
Yeah, I don't go by moods much because mine are all over the place. So that would be really problematic, I think. I mean, right now I'm working on this novel and I'm really driven to, this is hopefully the last edit. So I've been spending a lot of time on that, but painting is if I'm stuck, this painting is a really good, then I go to the painting,
Oh, interesting.
because then sometimes that just uses a different part of your brain. And like I said, it's more physical, and I think you need your body to create. So if I'm sitting too long, that's a problem.
Do you have a certain time of day that you like to work on different, like your writing or your art? Or does it vary?
I have never done anything the same, which is a problem, with my company. Like people like, if you could just standardize, if you could just, that's hard for me.
I can relate.
What I also is, I think a lot of people get stuck because they're like, I have to have, I said I like 3 hours to paint, but I don't always get that. Sometimes I have 15 minutes.
What's coming to my mind is because you were in the room with Alan Zweibel when we did that. Mm-hmm. He talks about, he gets up in the morning and early in the morning, and he writes first thing in the morning. So I just was wondering.
Every day, 5 o'clock in the morning.
Right. So does Randall Silva's. He meditates 45 minutes and then he writes. And I wish I was that, I'm not. But what I will do is if I have 15 minutes, I'll use it to start a poem, or I'll do a little bit of editing, or I'll do a quick sketch, or I try not to have that. I have to have this in order to create something. Just work with what I have.
Is that learned behavior from your dad, or is it in your DNA?
Probably, I don't know. Maybe it's some of both. I mean, he was always doing something, so I was used to seeing that. But, I wish I was more. I really admire that in people who, get up every morning and they do this. I think that would be lovely.
But the thing is that's not who you are. So it's like, so embracing that. We have comments. Jeannie says, I so agree with you, Mary Jane, around being messy, that people need to find the space being messy. One of my high school friends is here. She says, hi, Pat. because they called me Pat in high school.
Pat, that's cute.
And then Fred Stella, of course, had to chime in.
I'm vindicated. Yes.
And I do have a dedicated space. It's just a large space.
Yes.
It's the whole house, right, Fred?
Yes,
Right.
exactly. Not a good suggestion.
So we have about 5 more minutes. What haven't we covered?
There's like we've still got questions we want to cover, but
I know.
I do want to know how, because I'm curious about this, how the pandemic has impacted you creatively.
Well, that's so hard to talk about because there's been so much pain, right? And so much sorrow, and we see so much discrepancy in who is hurt or by this, either financially or physically or whatever. So I recognize my privilege in this answer, which for me is, I already had a nice place to work. I was here. The idea of not, that whole fear of missing out, or I should go do this or do that, just to have much more, everybody was on their own and being more focused. And it just really allowed me even more intense time to write and paint. So, and I think, too, the relationships I did maintain got much deeper. I think it forced me to really think about what is it I want to say and do with the things I create. And just a chance to read a lot more. So that's
great.
been, yeah,
because you couldn't go to restaurants, you couldn't go to
right.
theater, you couldn't go to.
Right.
Do you think you'll carry them, some of that, as the world opens back up again?
I do, and if anything, I probably should get out more. But that if you are doing this, you're really anything that the only way to create art is to be doing it right by yourself or with whoever you're collaborating with, head down and in a chair or in front of the canvas. And so finding ways to really protect that time, I think, is really important. Yeah.
It certainly has, shown us, especially for creative people, shown us in going, how can we do it differently? How can we still express, during this time? And Teresa's directed 3 plays.
No, you did so much this.
And then we did our Santa hat, and then Fubble Time was created out of it. Rebecca says, feels so much better about myself. Inconsistent, messy, delayed masterpieces. Love her. Yay. Yay.
You would, Rebecca. You kids would have a fascinating conversation, I'm sure.
Yes, we'll have to befriend each other.
Yeah, and so on your website is your about your writing and about your improv, correct? So because people out there, fubblers that are watching.
Oh, I love it that people are calling us fuddlers, because I'm a fubbler.
Yeah,
I followed the two of you. Yeah.
Well, you are really such a creative talent, and I love everything you do, and so I love knowing that this is one aspect that we kind of peeked into Mary Jane's world, right?
Yeah, in my world, it's the writing, it's the performing, it's that, so it was like just seeing, and I, if I hadn't seen you on social media starting to post stuff and seeing your artwork for sale and everything, and that was probably in the last year and a half or so that I was like, what? So when we were like, let's do artists, it was like, oh my gosh, we have to bring Mary Jane in, which is fun to have that be the first thought, is to put you in that box.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Because that wouldn't have been the box that I would have put you in, knowing you 2 years ago, right? That just isn't how I related to you. And I love seeing this and knowing this about you.
Well, and same with you guys. I mean, the photos you're taking, Teresa and Patrick, the kind of other things you're doing, especially, in terms of spirituality and those kinds of things. I mean, and I just want to thank you guys for giving so many people an opportunity. Well, this platform, certainly, right? Having people on as guests, but the storytelling stuff at Laugh Fest, the shows that we've done, bringing in amazing people for workshops. I mean, you've done so much for the Grand Rapids artistic
Oh,
community.
thank you.
The
Thank
two of
you.
you, honestly.
Thank you.
And I'm grateful for that because this
Thanks.
is a lot of work and it takes time away from your creativity. But you have gone a long ways to building a strong artistic community.
Thank you.
So nice.
Yeah. This is truthfully, it was a nice thing to get out there because Teresa and I kept on saying, we want to do a talk show. We want to figure something out. We have, but we're never in the same place, and when we are in the same place, we're in production for something. And so that's what this gave us. And it's fun. It's a nice outlet for us. But I so appreciate that, Mary Jane. And, you being a part of this tonight is just
thank you.
Fun. It went so
always
quick.
fun to talk creativity.
I know. Boom. Just like that.
Yeah.
Yes, people check out Mary Jane's website. Once again, I put it in the chat because then they can just click on it. But here it is again, maryjanepories.net. She's an artist. She is an improviser. She's a writer and an all-around wonderful woman. So thank you
guys. This was
Thank
great.
you.
So appreciate it.
Thanks.
All right. Bye. Yay.
Love it. Love her. Such a complex. There's so many. I mean, like a painting, so many layers.
Yes.
So many layers, fascinating layers. And we just scratched the surface, but it was.
I know. It really, I mean, just so interesting. I love her work. It's just beautiful. And I love her story. She's such a great storyteller too.
Yeah.
So next week,
we're closing out Artist Month with Joel Schoon-Tannis. What do you have? Oh, you've got a Joel Schoon-Tannis piece of art right there that I commissioned.
Teresa, you didn't create, but you commissioned.
I commissioned a piece of art for Patrick Ziegler. So
for my birthday, and so I'll actually show it a little bit closer next week when we happen to work on a TV show together too, a kids TV show together, but we're really focusing on his art for the and there's Bixby again.
Well, I'm glad Bixby was with us. Thank you for being with us. We really appreciate people.
Thank you for tuning in, people.
It's just it means a lot to us. We really appreciate it. And thank you for Mary Jane. Thank you to Mary Jane for being with us. And with that, we say,
gotta go.